On a small construction site in rural Australia, a routine concrete takes a sudden and chaotic turn. One worker guides a walk-behind power trowel, smoothing the surface in wide, steady circles. The slab is wet, slick, and uneven, the kind of surface that leaves no room for footing mistakes. As he shifts his stance, the trowel jerks suddenly, twisting free from his hands. It skids across the slick surface, spinning in wide circles, a powerful reminder of how quickly control can slip. Never, ever start or operate a power trowel without a firm footing and full control of the handle. A wet slab turns into a skating field, and a trowel out of hand becomes a rotating hazard. In a roadside repair yard in Paraguay, a truck cab suddenly turns from stable to deadly, without warning. A blue Volvo truck sits half disassembled under a tin roof, its cab tilted forward for maintenance. A second man kneels in front, inspecting something near a parked pickup. The only thing holding the tilted cab up is a hydraulic lift. No locks, no braces. Then, in a single moment, the hydraulics fail. The cab drops abruptly, hitting the stop point with a heavy thud. Dust rises rapidly, leaving the scene frozen, a silent warning of how fast pressure can vanish. Never, ever rely on hydraulic pressure alone to hold a raised cab, dump bed, or heavy structure in place. Always use mechanical safety locks, pins, or braces before working beneath or around elevated components. Inside a quiet renovation site, one worker climbs, trusting another to keep him safe. This happened inside a small commercial renovation area in Southeast Asia. The floor is scattered with debris and tools. Buckets, plaster dust, and panels leaned against half-built walls. One worker in a blue shirt climbs a metal ladder to reach the top of a brick wall. Below him, another worker in red is assigned to hold and steady the ladder while mixing plaster nearby. The man in red steps away, distracted, leaving the ladder unguarded. Moments later, the worker above shifts his weight, and the ladder begins to slide backwards. The base slips across the dusty floor and topples against the ground, a sudden collapse that echoes through the room. Never, ever leave a ladder unattended when someone is working on it. Stability isn't automatic, it's human. A few steps away can be the distance between control and collapse. Always ensure ladders are secured, stabilized, or tied off before anyone climbs. Inside a quiet school kitchen, one careless moment with a gas cylinder turned routine maintenance into a room of flames. It's early afternoon at the Geraldo de Andrade Vilela State School in Carmo do Rio Claro. Lunch preparation is underway. Stoves lit, pots boiling, and kitchen staff moving quickly to keep up with the schedule. One worker begins the simple task of changing a gas cylinder, something done dozens of times before. But this time, the cylinder sits just beside a stove with an open flame still burning. In an instant, gas near the cylinder ignites, flaring upward. The flame spreads quickly across the stove area as escaping vapor feeds the burn. Heat fills the kitchen, and alarms echo through the room. Staff rush to shut off the valves and grab extinguishers, dousing the fire before it can spread further. Never, ever replace or move a gas cylinder near an active open flame. Propane and butane can ignite instantly from even the smallest spark, static discharge, or pilot light. Always turn off all stoves, verify valve seals, and test for leaks with soapy water, never by smell or flame. In a ceramics plant in Southeast Asia, one wrong lift turns an entire rack of sinks into a falling wall of destruction. It's mid-shift inside a sanitary ware factory. Workers stand on a narrow platform above a pit filled with broken porcelain. Each rack holds dozens of ceramic sinks, heavy, freshly cast, and stacked in layers for drying. Two men move one by one, lifting the upper row by hand. No hoist, no guardrails, no structural support under the rack frame. As one worker slides a sink toward the edge, the rack frame shifts, just slightly at first. Then, without warning, the structure begins to buckle. One level gives way to the next, setting off a chain reaction through the stack. In seconds, the frame folds inward under its own weight, filling the air with a cloud of dust and the sound of metal twisting. Safety principle: never, ever overload or unbalance a storage rack beyond its rated limit. Weight doesn't forgive imbalance. Once it moves, it multiplies. Every shelf must be braced, every load evenly distributed, and no one should work directly in the collapse path. In a chemical plant, workers check piping connections. Then a sudden release turns routine maintenance into an emergency. The setting is an industrial process area lined with steel piping, valves, and pressure vessels. Two workers are on task. One bends near a pipeline, another adjusts a valve nearby. Around them, flammable materials flow under pressure, invisible but always present. It looks like another ordinary shift in plant operations. A worker bends to inspect a valve. Then a faint hiss breaks the rhythm of the plant. In seconds, vapor escapes, invisible but reactive. The air ripples, pressure shifts, and energy flashes across the aisle, turning calm precision into confusion. Pressurized systems are never routine. Even small leaks can escalate into fireballs if flammable material and ignition sources align. Safe maintenance means full isolation, depressurization, and verification before work begins. A quiet afternoon, a man mowing his front yard, and then, in an instant, the mower explodes into a cloud of smoke and shrapnel. A homeowner rolls his old gasoline-powered mower across the dry grass. The sound of the engine hums steadily, that familiar rhythm of weekend chores. But under the heat, the air feels heavy. The grass is dry, the metal casing of the mower is scorching, and the engine's been running longer than it should. Suddenly, the mower emits a loud pop, releasing a plume of smoke and vapor. A brief flash follows as the heat meets fuel residue, filling the yard with the sound of pressure release before the engine dies out. Fuel and heat never forgive mistakes. Never refuel or operate a lawnmower near open flames, leaking fuel lines, or in extreme heat. Before every use, inspect the tank cap, hose, and vent. If you smell fuel or see vapor, stop immediately, because one tiny leak near a hot surface can ignite with explosive force. On a quiet industrial lot, one overloaded pallet teeters on the edge of a truck's lift until gravity makes the final call. It's a routine delivery for a transport crew. A large blue truck backs toward a loading dock, its hydraulic tail lift lowered just enough to bridge the gap. The worker positions a heavy pallet using a manual jack. Each box is identical, shrink-wrapped, stacked high, and balanced just above the lift's rated weight. As the pallet jack rolls forward, the stack begins to lean. Barely noticeable at first, the lift flexes under the load, dipping toward the edge. In seconds, the weight shifts past its limit, and the pallet slides free, scattering boxes across the concrete in a cloud of dust. Never, ever stand in the fall zone of a raised or moving load, especially on a tail lift. Loads must always be secured, balanced, and moved by equipment, not hands. Tail lifts are designed for controlled movement, not for catching what gravity decides to take. In a warehouse built for precision, one wrong lift turns order into chaos in seconds. Inside a high bay warehouse, pallets line the aisles from floor to ceiling, each section marked GA, GB, GE, rows of symmetry and weight stacked in steel frames. A worker on a red reach truck maneuvers between aisles, raising the forks high to slot a heavy pallet into place. The task is routine, but the height, load balance, and floor angle all hide a silent risk. The operator adjusts the mass just a little farther forward, trying to align perfectly with the upper rack. The load shifts. A small wobble turns into an imbalance. The pallet tilts off-center as the weight redistributes across the forks. In an instant, the mast trembles and the load settles unevenly, sending dust through the aisle as the operator lowers it to regain control. Never, ever extend a reach truck beyond its stability limit. At full height, even a small tilt or forward lean can destroy the balance of both load and machine. Always confirm load weight, mast alignment, and fork depth before lifting, and keep bystanders clear of the stacking zone. At a bustling construction site, one suspended load drifts a few inches offline, and in seconds, disaster strikes. A crane operator hoists a concrete form across the foundation area, guiding it toward its next placement. Below, workers move through the pathway, carrying tools and rebar, focused on their own sections of the build. A rigger grips the tagline, trying to steady the suspended load as the wind picks up. The crane's boom rotates slowly, but the load starts to swing. The suspended block swings wide, its weight magnified by the motion. The tagline slips through the rigger's hands as the boom oscillates. The load grazes the barrier and comes to a heavy sway before stabilizing. A moment of silence follows as every worker feels the close call. Never, ever stand or walk under or near the swing path of a suspended load. Crane momentum, wind, or a misjudged tagline can turn tons of material into a fast-moving hazard. The danger isn't just above you, it's around you. One swing is all it takes to turn coordination into chaos. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.